Welcome back to PJ Chen Design. This is PJ. This is video. It's for you if you serious consider being a jewelry kit designer. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to create a braided pattern for this ring and also talk about the D setting in detail. You don't want to miss it. Are you ready? Let's get started. To making this ring model, we want to starting with the middle part and make sure we are braiding it look realistic as possible and the structure is correctly. So that's starting from the scratch. We're gonna starting with the front view, and with any ring size you want. I usually like to do the same ring size exact for my model. So in this demonstration, I'm gonna use 16 millimeter. Then I'm gonna coming into the right view to draw the profile for my ring. Now first, I'm going to draw a box roughly for how wide you want this ring to be. So I want it to be about 7-ish millimeter there, and it's about 2 millimeter thick. And then I'm going to use the arc tool that you have this arc start in, and then going to draw the arc look like this. Alright, so now you have something like this. We need to take a look on if overall thickness is way too big. Now if you look at this, you're going to see that this is about 3 millimeter, 3.26 millimeter. And of course, with this, for a men's ring might be okay, for ladies ring will be too thick. The feeling is about too thick. So I'm going to explode it this one and then delete the one in the middle. And I also wanted to do a little bit bump there on the side. So let's go ahead to do our design there. I'm going to using this conic corner and going to draw some sort of a bump looking things, something like this, right? And I also wanted to moving these things down to here. And let's go ahead to mirror to the other side. Roughly, not roughly, exactly it. Mirror to the other side from the center point. So let's go ahead to pick up everybody, and we wanted to trim anything that we don't need, which is here, 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 here. Okay, so then we'll have a sort of like a bump on the side, and then we can set the stone there. Alright, so now if you feel like this is too thick, because we're gonna have a pattern on the top, a stone gonna sitting on the top. If you feel like this is too thick, this is the good time to make it thinner. So let's join them first, and then we want to use the 1D scale, snapping right here, and just move it lower a little bit. Something like that. Okay, I also like to have an inside of a ring shank. It is rounded, so let's go ahead to fit it. So we want to fit it, say radius is 1, and we got this like big fillet there, so that will be fine. Okay, let's moving this to the middle by move command, snapping into the middle, snapping into the quadrant. So let's take a look on our perspective. This is what we have before we sweep. Now to make it into the ring, we simply just want to use the sweep one rail, and then we got this one as a rail. This is the cross section, and then we'll get something like that. Alright, so this is the basic ring that we have, and we also wanted to have a stone in between. Right, so let's go ahead to do the pattern first. Now I'm going to hiding this one more time. Just using this is easier for you to see. Let's go ahead to explode this one. We wanted to go ahead to making a reference surface. So let's go using the sweep one rail. This is a rail. This is the cross section, and we'll get this surface right there. Let me change it into the ghost view. Alright, so it's easier to see. Now I need to know that what is the area I'm going to flow it back. So I am going to make this surface flat by create UV curve command, and then this is the area indicated how wide this area is going to be. remember we also need to have the stone setting in there. So let's say the stone size I'm going to have, it's about 1.5 millimeter, for example. So I'm gonna draw a line right there and move it down 1.5 millimeter by typing on the top command. And then you're gonna have this one with is set it for 1.5 millimeter for whatever distance that it's going to be. So I'm gonna hold the shift key, click on it. So this will be the curve. I'm going to hold my shift again and click snapping into this point, right? So let me explode this guy and let's go ahead to delete that little curve. All right. So with that saying, this it's going to be mirrored on the other side. And now we know this is the area we're going to design. So let me turn this into the red color. It will be easier for you to see. Okay, so those two lines is somewhere, it's a little bit narrower than this one right here, but this is where we're going to do the design. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna draw a midpoint to the midpoint, and this is a line represent the center line. So let's go ahead to do the green color there. So let's say I'm going to have a curve, and this curve that goes straight from here to here. It can be slanted if you want to make it really slanted like this one, that's up to you. Depends on what kind of pattern that you want. So if we take a look on this, when it's flat, and if we just go ahead to pipe it, then, oops, that's too big. Let's pipe it something a little bit more reasonable, like this is the pipe. If you take a look on this, you're gonna notice that when this transfer to this, it will follow the curvature that we have. It won't be flat, but I would like to create more dimension. This is a tiny detail that's going to make your CAD model look more dimension. So in this curve is we need to change the degree. If you use the rebuild command, you're going to see that this is a degree 1 curve, which is really straight line. We need to change to degree 3 curve, and I don't need to have a lot of point. 4 points fine, and we want to click on this. Now we have 2 points that we can play with by bringing up just a little bit. All right, so that's the first things you wanted to do. Second, we want to start piping it. Sometimes you can pipe it for whatever size that you want. Let's say, and for something like this, for example, I'm going to moving this pipe down here for you to compare, and I'm going to pipe it again. Actually, I need to pipe it a little bit thicker, so the same thickness right there, but I would like to edit another one right in the middle. Okay, and make this one just slightly bigger, and so I will get something like this. Might be too fat, we don't know, but we'll take a look. Now for the production purpose, if you are going to make this into the production, every detail needs to be careful. Like this one might be way too thin. All right, so my magic number is 0.4 millimeter. You don't want your design is smaller than 0.4, but it also depends on how you arrange them, right? So it's not like a set, like what exactly thickness that you can use. Now let's take a look on this. We want to make it into a strip of this kind of a pattern, so we want to use linear array. I don't know how many I needed. I'm just guessing maybe 50 of them. And then I want to use this as a guideline. Make sure you're near on your alt snap right here. Your near is on. So we want to go something like this. It's up to you if you want them to overlapping or not. Sometimes you leaving a tiny gap, it might create a problem for the casting. So I would like to have them just touching each other, something like this. Okay. So now we have the one on the bottom, and let's take a look on the render view and see how they look. If they look like the way that you like it, right? So we have that, and we don't need that many there. Okay, now I'm going to pick up all this pattern, and I'm going to deselect the curve and temporarily just group them. All right, so I'm going to mirror them to the other side. So that's using the mirror command, snapping into the midpoint and holding your shift, and you'll get something like this. All right, so to make it more correctly structured, I actually need to move this to the side, something in between each, right? So if you take a look on the render view, now you can see they are kind of braving, like going in to each other or something like that. Okay, so now if this is looking good to you, I actually am not going to flow all of the pattern to this. This is a little trick that I use to save my computer space. I only want to flow one set. All right, so let me show you. Let's go ahead to take a look on the ghost view. All right, when you have a lot of a little pattern like this and you try to flow all of them, and your computer gonna run really slow. So what I do is I design my pattern and then they look correct. So then I will just need to have one set to flow to this surface. Okay, let's turn this into the surface and make sure it is right, like a little bit, like half of them is inside of the ring shank, half of them is on top, which means half of them is underneath this surface. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna pick up one, but I do not want to pick up the one really close to the edge, but that will deform. I'm gonna pick up the second set there. All right, and I just use the flow along surface. And I want to pick up this edges right here and coming over to pick up this one right there. All right, so now we have that one set there. We can pick up this one and we're gonna coming over here, and then you can do that is because it's perfectly round. If it is an oval or other shape, you actually need to flow the whole things. I'm gonna use the polar array command and I'm gonna snapping to the 0. We were using 40 or some, I should have counted, but I'm just gonna guess again. Let's do 40, 360 degree, and let's take a look. Look like I'm guessing right, so I'm just gonna hit enter and let's double check with our render view right there. Okay, good. Now if this one look good, let's go ahead to delete this reference surface and we just call it back with our ring right there. Now it looked like this rounded thing, it may be too high. I may need to have them sit it in, but you know what I mean there. All right. Another thing that you don't want to flow is your stone. When you have a stone, disregarding what size, the bigger stone is going to deform a lot. I usually don't want it to do my design right here and flow it here. Your stone will deform it and it won't be accurate anyway. You can download this stone at the description below, sign up the newsletter, and then you will get a link to download the stone. Whatever stone that you have here, we need to size it. To size it, it's quite simple. You're gonna use the scale 3D command and make sure the vertex right here on your object is on, and then we want to snapping into the vertex to the vertex. We just need to type in the stone size that we want. In this case, I want it to be 1.5 millimeter. I also wanted this one to be aligned to the center with my ring, so I'm going to align vertical center and type it 0, and this will be the stone to be worked on. Now I want the stone go in just a little bit, so my prong will be sitting in there. Imagine that you have the two of them. Your prong will be sitting just right in the middle. So in this case, I would like to use the shear prong. All right, so I'm gonna moving this down close to that, but not place on the top yet. What I like to do is on my profile right here, I want to creating a color. Because any of the facet stone, if you have the color, it will make your stone look brighter. So let's go ahead to draw something. Make sure you disable all the snapping, and I want to do something like this. Somewhere about half of a stone size, I'm gonna go something like this. You can make it longer if you want to, so you will make sure that will cut it. All right, so let's go ahead to take a look. Now I have my line here and I have my stone here. Let me bring them out. It's actually easier for you to see. Now I got something like this. All right, I need to have those two is aligned, so I'm gonna pick up those two on my top view, and let's go ahead to align to the horizontal center. So now they are aligned. If we take a look on this, so we are going to turn on our all snap, and I would like to creating a surface by using revolve command, and I'm going to snap into the vertex here, holding my shift on my front view and click on anywhere. All right, now bring my mouse back to the top view, and we want to do 360 degrees so we get some sort of a surface like this. Now what is that for? Let's go ahead to use the cap command to make it into solid first, and I'm going to turn them into the green color. This will follow whatever stone, how many that we have, and with this, let me make sure they are aligned. For some reason they doesn't look aligned, so align to the center. All right, so now they are aligned. Whatever how many stone that you work to polar array around it, you will have a cutter together. So make sure you need to have this cutter to match with the stone. So I will do them as a set, and then I will group them so nothing will move them into the wrong place. Now I can have this to the place that I want, move it down. Make sure you move it with the gumball, otherwise it won't be the right place. Okay, now if we take a look on the perspective or even side view, let's take a look on side view. My stone right now is like buried inside of the shank. I need to have them into the angle, so that's tilted, and that's moving up back here. Right, so let's take a look on the perspective and see if that is correct. I could have just moving them in just a little bit more like this. Alright, so now I have them into the right place. What you wanted to do is make sure the girdle of the stone, which is this line right here, is sitting on the surface of any of the ring shank or any of the design that you have. Okay, now we have something like this. Let's give it a try. We wanted to do is polar array, and or sometimes if you type it array and then showing polar, and I'm going to snapping into the 0. How many of them? Let's just guess 30 of them. And notice that on my top view, it is really big gap right here. Ideally, you wanted to have something is like 0.1, 0.15 millimeter in the gap. So I'm going to increasing the number here, change to 40, and look at this now, it's much better there. All right, and then I can have my prong in the middle. So let's take a look on the perspective and see if it's everything look all right. I'm going to hide it, this one on the top, so we won't accidentally to pick on them. And also you can see my cutter is arranged correctly. It's going to cut inside of here. All right, so now if that look correct to you, we're gonna coming into the front view. We're gonna make a little prong. The prong is quite easy. We're gonna do is making a straight line, and then we simply just going to pipe it. So let's go ahead to pipe with the round cap, and I want to do something about this size. Okay, we can change the size if it doesn't fit. All right, so that's moving on my prong. Let me turning into the red color. This is easier for you to see. Let's go ahead to do the red. Okay, so now I have my prong. I'm going to moving my prong in between. From my top view, I'm take a look on if they are evenly cut in between, right? So something like this, right? Something like this. And I also want to move to moving this prong down to here, just a little bit taller, just a little bit taller than the table, and we'll be fine. All right, now look like this pattern is kind of blocking here. This should be the pattern that we have in the middle should be smaller, or the prong should be sitting a little bit taller. Otherwise, you don't have enough to bend over. And the prong stick like this is actually not gonna work to bend it over. So we need to do some adjustment. I'm going to pick up everything in the middle. You can reflow if you want to, but I'm kind of lazy here, so I'm just gonna 1D scale like this. All right, so make sure they are not touching. I also want them to be slightly smaller, so just 3D scale on my gumball. And let's take a look on our render view. All right, I mean, still it's there, but I think I scale it way too small. So let's go ahead to pick it up again. And I actually want to group it and kind of tweak it a little bit by doing those scale things. Okay, tweak it a few times to make sure that they look all right. All right, so now let's take a look on the prong. On my render, the prong has a room to bend over. I also want to make another prong about right there. Okay, we also need to tilt this prong in the angle so that will go correctly, and I want them to go a little bit lower, right? So the prong won't touch our pattern and this prong will be correctly there. All right, so that's using the polar array one more time, and we want to use the same number with the stone, which is 40, and then we'll have all the prong there. Okay, so now let's go ahead to pick up everybody, and we want to mirror that to the other side, typing 0, holding my shift, and then you'll get to the other side. All right, let's give it a try. We want to cut this cutter off. Let's go ahead to use the Boolean difference, turn it into the ghost view, and we're gonna pick up the cutter on both sides. All right, so now we'll have something like this. There are a lot of different type of stone setting in all different shapes. You wanted to know them to make sure that you can create a file correctly for the production. I have a JuryCAD stone setting course on my website that may help you to become a JuryCAD designer. Check them out and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next.